Hey everyone, this is Keith Scott from Albion Sydney, Australia. I'm one of the voices of Bull Eagle J. Moose. It's time to watch Relentless and Unstoppable. And so give it up for your main hosts, Douglas Kelly and Andy McPhee.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, high school was a nightmare. It was just a nightmare. Although in my case, it was for similar reasons but different scenarios. The first year was good because I was in sped for the first year to some extent, but I had an IEP leader that was very understanding and compassionate and gracious. And my academics, which were not really good before then when I was in Colorado, they improved. And then she left after the year ended. The next year was my best year of my education. But the thing, however, was I went to a high school in southern Arizona that built themselves with a reputation of building champions, and it's known as the champions of today and tomorrow. But when I went into the school, I got the vibe that that wasn't really the case of what was going on. I mean, yes, they were building champions, but the deal was they were struggling to retain students every year, and students were starting to go over to charter schools or Christian schools or just schools that didn't involve public schooling, and aside from that, there was violence, there was bullying happening on a regular basis, and most people didn't report it to staff because of the concept that you could get punished as well just for being the recipient of a punch. You know what I mean? And so and aside from that, there was this culture where you couldn't really be taught or shown how to properly self-advocate when it came to being autistic or just being people in general. The idea was you could not disagree with or even show anything that could be considered or interpreted as disrespect towards staff members when a lot of it was you weren't really disrespectful, but you told them things they didn't want to hear. You know what I mean? So there's that difference. And so it was just when all of your needs are not really taking into account during that time, you get to that point that you mentioned about your year, which is you get to the point of why bother? You know what I mean? And so it was just really a bad experience. And what I found interesting, though, was in the years afterwards, I kept in touch with people that I went to school with. And the issue was, some spoke negatively about their experience later on, which has me realizing that some people had been victims of that as well, but they just suppressed their feelings until after graduation. You know what I'm getting at? And when students were coming and going, it was claimed that it was because of business stuff, but it became obvious to me afterwards that the reason why the school was not retaining students was because it was being made impossible to enjoy being there. And that was one other thing, which is I got the vibe that a lot of people, even the teachers, came across to me like they didn't want to even be there at some point. You know what I'm getting at?
Yeah, I understand that feeling at times, and
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you,
Mhm.
I hated math, and I know it sounds random, but I'm swear this is gonna make sense in a sec. Anytime I had a math class, I despised it, I hated it. But one day, I think it was my junior year, there was this teacher in this math class. I still hate math, but this teacher made it somewhat more bearable. She was playful, she was kind, she was sweet, and it was just always fun in that classroom. I think one time. Yes, someone showed her a funny video, and everyone was a bit confused why certain people and her were making the jokes about that they don't understand. So you know what she did?
What?
She got she posted that she showed the video on the big screen, like when they have that screen down. She showed the video on the screen, and it was just so funny. I think another time is the fact that yeah, she also knew a sense of humor. I think one time I showed her a drawing, she said it was badass. Mind you, And because she said it, we all started saying badass and she said it aloud for that day.
Yeah, it's awesome that there's still those people that have thick skin and can, bring themselves and be themselves, as teachers, and all that.
Yeah,
So,
and here's a cute thing that she did. Apparently, she also had like this fridge door, not an actual fridge. It was just the fridge door leaning against the wall. The first day we were there, she's like, "If you like to draw, go ahead, but and if you want to give it to me, I'll post it on the fridge."
nice, nice.
And
That's awesome.
I think I was the only person who did that. I gave her a drawing I made, and she actually put it on the fridge, and it was just so funny. But at the end of the day, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I was not a saint. I'm pretty sure I was one of her more problematic students, but I still enjoyed the class, not because I was good at it, but because of the vibe it had.
Yeah, yeah. I just as far as me as a student, I was a handful. I was considered a handful in both elementary school and high school. And even somewhat to this day, when I'm at Sheridan, I am still somewhat of a handful with some people. But the thing about me is I'm one of those people that struggles to have a filter when it comes to my expressions and my feelings, and so that's something I'm working on here at my SACE program and trying to make sure that I try to rein myself in a bit, although I'm always going to be still somewhat of a guy with no filter, maybe a handful. And so that's sort of followed me around since coming to Arizona is no matter where I've gone, I've sort of been that guy that is considered friendly and nice, but sort of maybe difficult to be around sometimes. And so but I'm working every day on trying to rein that in a little bit, because, not everyone's going to be perfect in the end. Speaking of which, now that you brought that up, you want to hear something from my geometry? I have a funny story from geometry, which was a topic I was not fond of, but I passed. But anyway, this is the story I have if you want to hear it.
Sure,
So
go ahead.
so we had a teacher named Mr. White with a Y, by the way. He was a Jamaican teacher that believed very heavily in math and how it would apply to everything that we would learn growing up and all that. He was very passionate about his support for students and his belief in us, which was good, you know. But one of the things about Mr. White was, although he was very friendly and believing in his students, he liked to get under our skin a bit. For example, whenever he would ask you something or give you a problem, if you gave an answer that would be incorrect, he would say no instead of just saying no. He would draw out the no, or he would be like no, no, no. And it was just like sometimes it would just be like, can you just say no? And then he would be like, bravo, bravo, if he got
Okay,
it right.
those teachers I enjoy having because I could hate the subject matter, but all of a sudden those teachers just make the subject matter much more tolerable. I think it was my senior year of high school. I had an economics teacher, okay? So he had us to try and practice something called communism, okay? Here's how we did it. We had to do rock, paper, scissors, but here's the thing. Every time we beat someone, they had to give us $1. It was a fake dollar. It was like a just a piece of paper, okay?
Mhm.
However, every time we lost, we had to give them a piece of paper. Keep that in mind, okay? So by
Oh.
the end of it, one dude, he had like 20 pieces of paper. He had 20 slips. But
Mhm.
here's the thing, I only had two. However, you know what the reward was? Jolly Ranchers. Jolly Ranchers. So
Mhm.
the guy with the like 20 or 30 slips, he thought, oh, I'm gonna get 30 Jolly Ranchers. He only got two because everybody got two.
Got it.
So
So,
just like that, we understood how communism worked. This guy, he worked harder than anyone else to get those 20 to 30 slips, but he
mhm.
got the same amount of pay as those who didn't put in as much effort.
Okay, so that sort of explains how it works and why it doesn't work unless you're a perfect person, basically, right?
Basically, because yeah, the guy did all that extra effort. He went above and beyond to get those slips. but he got the same amount of pay as those who didn't work as hard. And
Uh,
it also showed us two sides of communism. For the broke people, that's what I'm calling it us, because the people who only got two slips, we were considered broke.
mhm.
So to us, we were basically broke, but despite that, we still got the same amount of reward as the guy who was supposed to be rich.
So it's the different perspectives, right?
Exactly. For the people who were broke and have like didn't really have any slips, the two drawing ranchers, hey, we all got the same pay, so there's no reason to complain. But to the guy who got the 20 and 30 slips, he saw it differently. He thought, I put much more effort in and I'm still being getting paid or less drawing ranchers than the others. So that's where it came into play. That's how we understood it.
Yeah, I had a similar assignment in geometry but it was this is the antidote I was getting in the good story about Mr. White. So we had an assignment where we had to write a rap and perform a rap based on the concepts of the geometry sessions that we were in for a certain quarter of a semester. And because I was battling some sleep issues and sleep apnea at the time, and because geometry wasn't my best subject, I was having problems with staying awake, and I often got reprimanded by him for falling asleep, like barely trying to keep my head up, and having a hard time concentrating on the subject. And so I ended up sleeping through the lessons and I didn't know about the rap until the day that it was supposed to happen. So when Mr. White came up to me before the performances and asked me, "Where's your rap, Doug?" I was like, "Rap?" And he was like, "Yeah, the one that I had you work on, where is it?" And I realized that I didn't study and I was like, it's in my binder right here." And Mr. White looked at me with sort of a look of disbelief and said, "Okay, I'll see you at the front," which was him saying, "I know what's going on, but okay, I'll just go with it, Doug. I'll just play along." You know what I mean? Until
Yeah.
until you confess, basically. Well, anyway, well, anyway, after he left, I took out my notebook and I tried to cheat by writing it at the last second. And Mr. White looked up from his desk, narrowed his eyes, and then he said, "Mr. Kenny, can you please go to the front of the class and present yours first?" And so he was trying to prevent me from cheating. And so I was just like, "Okay, sir." So I went up with a couple of my buddies that I asked to basically be the background music. And so when I went up to the front, my plan was to make it up on the spot. So I made up the entire rap on the spot as I went along. And as I progressed, the class got heavily entertained by it and to the point where they were cheering and waving their hands to the beat. And then I did a fake drum solo in the middle of it. And while doing it, I looked over to Mr. White and he was looking at me with a sarcastic smile, like, and then and then as I was looking at him with a grin on my face, he just was like rolling his eyes. And then eventually when the rap ended, everybody stood up and gave me a standing ovation. And I then looked over to Mr. White and I gave him a smug grin. And he looked at me and was like, "Yeah, whatever, Doug. Please go back to your seat." Which
I
was
mean, at the end of the day, that it worked. You succeeded. The question is, did you pass? Did you pass the assignment? Did you pass?
He gave me a B, which it probably would have been an A, but because my topics were spot on, despite having not concentrated, my topics that I had in the rap were spot on. But I was informed that he gave me a B because he knew what the truth was.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, he was lenient. He gave you a B. He gave you a B, and you still basically completed the exam. You you did the work. It was just on the spot.
It was just on the spot, and the issue was he saw that I didn't do my homework, which is what the issue was. And so that's why he lowered it a bit. But it was just awesome seeing him going with it sarcastically, expecting that I would eventually break down and confess. And then it didn't happen, I still did something. And chances are he was probably impressed that I came up with something, but chances are he was also like, how am I going to tell this guy to do his homework and to stop sleeping in my courses? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the thing is, I was either the quiet kid that was always sleeping in class, or I was the annoying kid that was always bothering someone. And I guess that's why. Do you remember when you first met me? You could tell I was a bit socially awkward, right?
Yeah, yeah, I remember you were sort of like a little bit, but I see you've improved heavily since coming to SACE, which I think is really impressive. Really, really impressive of you.
Yeah, not only that, I feel like I've been more honest because I'm gonna be honest with you. In school, I was just an annoying asshole. I was really an annoying asshole. I was disrespectful for no reason. I would cause problems for no reason because I just wanted. I don't know, remember why, but yeah, I was an annoying asshole.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it felt like I was playing tough things. I was trying to play tough, but in actuality, let's be real, I was never the tough guy. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
but now I can just be myself. I can be more open-minded. Be like, you can come up to me. You've seen how I am when I hang out with you, Talon, and Dylan and Jacob, right?
Yeah, yeah.
We just and it felt like I was able to find people who I was able to vibe with.
Gee, that's all we have for Relentless and Unstoppable. So tune into the next episode to hear more amazing stories from amazing guests. This is Keith Scott from Sydney, Australia saying so long, and I'm smarter than the average bear. Gee.